Hey everyone, I'm Andrea Ferretti, and this is Yogaland. Hi, Jason.
Hi, Andrea.
New day, new glasses.
Oh, yes.
Gave up on the progressives.
I'm telling you, I have progressives in these. Don't love them.
It's rough.
Yeah.
It's just, we don't have to go into the whole thing,
Yeah.
but bye-bye progressives.
I'm glad you didn't walk yourself down the stairs backwards
I
and fall accidentally because you didn't know where you were.
I
But
know.
it was rough.
That's what it felt like.
Yeah.
I felt like I was on another planet a little bit.
Yeah.
And I'm not really like a drug user, so
Yeah.
I wasn't into it. I wanted to just pay a little tribute to our employee, our mentor,
Yeah.
Matthew Shaw.
Yeah.
He got a full-time gig.
Yeah. He's still alive.
Yeah,
Not-
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
yes.
Tribute. Yeah. He's good. He's thriving.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he got a full-time position at Yoga Roots in Shaker Heights, Ohio.
Yeah.
And so he moved from Philadelphia to
Yeah.
Ohio with his husband and his dog Fido. And he's going to still be mentoring for us, but we're so lucky because Chelsea Adams is going to come back and do
Yes.
some of the more support things.
Yeah.
So if anyone is wondering what's going on behind the scenes, that's what's going on.
Yeah. Especially if you're in our trainings, that's where you're going to
Yeah.
interact with those.
You'll start to hear more from Chelsea again, and they're both amazing, and
Yes.
and we're just excited that
Big
we
time.
still get to work with Matthew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And speaking of programs, really quick, 3 things. Number 1, Sequencing 2.0 is out. It's really, really good. It's part of the inspiration for what we're going to talk about today. Module 1, so hips and legs in my 300-hour advanced training is going to start in early May. So registration is going to be opening for that really soon. And then there are still some spaces left. San Francisco is sold out, which I'm so happy about. I'm just going to be honest, I'm really flattered. I'm really happy about it.
Yeah.
It feels really good.
Yeah.
There are still some spots left for my London retreat that's happening in early June.
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. I wanted to say quickly about sequencing 2.0, that it truly is a 2.0. In other words, because I just got a question this morning in my DMs, is I did, the advanced teacher training. I also get I did the first sequencing training. Is there really anything new? And the answer is yes.
Yeah.
There is.
Yeah.
There is new stuff.
Yeah.
So, the way you put it to me was there's 10 to 20% crossover because you have to lay the foundation for the people who haven't done the previous trainings. And you're using the same foundation, but you're applying it to more complex teaching scenarios and content.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about sequencing myths that can hold you back as a yoga teacher.
And I want to say like so many of the error-based conversations, if you will, that we have, it's because I made them all. Right? The times, it's one of the things that we have with time and a little bit of maturity is reflection on all of the little errors that got us to where we are. And all of these 5 bits are things that I have improved on over the years. And that to be honest, that I'm still continuing to work on. And each one of these things I think is really going to help give teachers perspective on what really matters and what we can let go of.
Yeah. Okay, great. So the first is the pressure to make your sequencing creative. This idea that all of your sequencing needs to be creative.
Yeah. And boy, cue in the Jason's a boring teacher. Drum roll, please.
Practical. You're a practical person.
So here's what I think. So the myth is that we need to be creative, right? That sequencing needs to be creative. And I just want to say it does not. It can be, but what we want to do is be effective and good at sequencing, not creative. If we are effective and good, then we can layer in creativity, right? But if we start first with creativity instead of understanding what's effective and good, then we're going to make a lot of mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
And the basic way I think we can think about this is like food combining or music. There are certain things that naturally fit together, right? In food combining or food pairing, there are certain flavor profiles that are always going to work, right? Like lemon with some thyme and rosemary, always going to work.
I got one.
Yes.
Tomatoes and
mozzarella, and basil.
Yeah.
Always going to work, right? Is that creative? No, it was creative at some point, probably 2,000 years ago.
Mhm.
But that kind of thing is always going to work. We don't, and this is a place as teachers, we don't want to start by trying to be creative. We want to start by understanding what are we trying to teach and what is the most effective way to teach that thing.
Mhm.
And then we can layer in some creativity, right? So let's say on the caprese salad situation here, okay? And it can be vegan cheese for all of the vegans out there. You can take an element of that and bring in some creativity, right? So if you have those three parts, you have mozzarella, you have tomatoes, you have basil, then you can be a little creative with the olive oil that you put on, or maybe you add some pepper, or maybe like you're creative with the garnishing or what goes around it. But you're not going to the store shopping for a good meal by closing your eyes and putting random ingredients together. And the problem is that when people focus on creativity first, they just start to put random things together that often don't go together.
Mm.
So creativity is good, absolutely, but it shouldn't be our first impulse. It should be a second or third way that we make the things that actually work more novel and engaging and interesting.
Mm-hmm. It's like starting with a solid foundation.
So you have to have a solid foundation, which is why having a structure, like a sequencing meta structure that you use, and then having focal points that you want to teach, and then understanding the most effective ways to teach those things. And then if you have those components, then you can riff a little bit. Then you can have those playful elements that are maybe a little bit more fun and expressive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. The second one is that your sequencing needs to be complicated.
Sequences are overstuffed.
So give me like, what would you I want to try to help people delineate between creative and complicated.
Oh, okay. Complicated. They probably often run together, but complicated to me, here's an example of complicated. I'm in Warrior 1 with my right leg forward. I shift forward and I come into Warrior 3. And then I step back to Warrior 1 and I do revolved side angle pose. And then I shift forward and I do revolved half moon pose. And then I put my hands down and I do a handstand. And then I step back to Warrior 1 and I do 8 different shoulder openers, right? There's a lot of components there that are strung together, right? So there's like a complex web of postural combinations. And sometimes like that's fun and fine. I don't want to say there's X amount of poses that you need to put together. I don't want to say that, right? I don't want to make up some like artificial ambiguous term. But we often feel compelled to make things complicated by layering one thing into another thing, into another thing, into another thing. Does that help clarify the difference?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And there's a couple problems with things being overly complicated. If you get overly complicated with anything, you start to lose the plot pretty quickly. So if let's go back to our caprese salad. Let's say we now put like Doritos on that, right? And then we put like, cheddar cheese crisps on that. And then we put all these things on it. We're like, oh, I'm making this more complicated. And it's more complicated and it's more creative. But what are we really doing? We're really losing the plot here. We're burying the ingredients. We're not allowing things to stand out. So I want to say this really clearly about a sequence, which is sometimes the poses that you don't include in a flow help the poses that you do include actually stand out and be executed well. Right. Another layer to this, right? I tell students in trainings, this comes up an obnoxious amount. I have to be honest. You and I have watched a lot of competition reality shows in our lives, and Top Chef and Project Runway have stood out.
Yes.
Right. And what is the most common amateur mistake in all of these situations that the judges who actually really know what works are like, this is the problem here.
This is just that things are too complicated?
Yeah.
Oh.
You're over accessorized.
Over
You're like,
accessorized.
you're
Okay.
over
I was thinking
accessorized.
of Top Chef and I was thinking not enough salt or
Yeah,
too much
okay,
salt.
okay, fair enough. Too much salt, not enough salt. Okay, you're completely right.
Yeah.
But in Top Chef, it's like there's too much going on here.
Yeah.
There's too much going on here. It doesn't work, right?
Right.
There's just too much going on. And so, again, this isn't to say that we can't layer things in, right? But if we're losing the plot, if we're adding too many components, if we're over accessorizing, we're not trusting the yoga.
Yeah.
We're just feeling like we need all of this filler content. And I think a lot of times that happens when we're insecure, which I completely understand. I deal with insecurity every day of my life. But it also happens when we don't know what the plot actually is.
Mm,
When we're not teaching to teach something.
yeah.
When we're not clear that, yeah, we're going to have a good all-around balance class for sure. And we're going to play, and sure, there'll be some creativity and we can add some complexity. But what is it here that I want my students to take away? Is there a thing or two I really want my students to learn? If we don't have some takeaways or some learning points, class might feel good, but it is going to be very forgettable.
Mm,
It's gonna be very forgettable
yeah.
because, right, it's like all of those things. It's not gonna be like, oh my God, this one thing I really got, this one thing I really stood out, this one thing I really had a breakthrough. Now I understand how to shift my weight forward into Bakasana,
Yeah.
right? But if we overcomplicate something, we lose the plot. We actually lose the student.
Yeah. Right. It's not like someone leaves class and goes, that was so complex. That was amazing.
No, and maybe, you know what, maybe once in a while some students do, but for the most part they don't.
Yeah. It's
It's
just,
very forgettable.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. The third one is sequencing that is basically choreography.
Yeah, kind of the belief, and all these first three are going to tie in nicely. The belief that sequencing is basically choreography. Like, I think that oftentimes people think of sequencing as just the order of the poses. But sequencing to me is much broader than that. It's really much more the story we're telling in class today. It's not just the order of the words. It's what is the narrative here? What is the thing that if you think about a sequence is just an order of events or a progression through time and space, right? And so we want to ask ourselves as a teacher, what are we trying to teach? What are we trying to communicate in this class? What is the narrative? What is the plot here? Not just what are the string of pose combinations we can include, right?
Yeah.
And I know nothing about dance except for watching all seasons of So You Think You Can Dance. So I guess I'm kind of an expert, right? I've never been around choreography, right? But also choreography is not random, right? There's a plot there in most settings. There's a story being told, or there's an emotion being expressed, or there's some humanness that is being articulated through expression. It's not just, I can do this, and then this, and then this, and then this, and then this, right?
I want to post some videos of you dancing.
This, oh boy. I take it to the next level.
You do.
Yeah.
You got a real white man's hip sway.
That's a positive spin on it. Yeah. Right. But does that make sense? Does
Yeah.
that difference make
It's
sense?
not just
right?
like stringing together shapes and
It's not stringing together random shapes.
Yeah.
Right.
That look
this
pretty.
goes into this. That goes into this. Like, and don't get me wrong. Okay. Let me push back on myself a little bit. You can, as expression, just move and just creatively move. And you can, as a teacher, you can be just taken by the muse, and you can kind of layer things together and just move for the movement's sake, totally. And at some point, there's going to have to be some organizational principle to make that interesting and compelling to someone else over time. So it isn't that we can't have creative moments or complex moments or just moments of movement choreography. But the big question is, what do all of those things fit into?
Mm.
And is there a learning paradigm here?
Mm-hmm.
Is there something that's really being taught and really being expressed here?
The next one, I think this is going to be very liberating for some people, that sequencing needs to be built around a peak pose.
It does not need to be built around a peak pose. So let's just clarify in case anyone in the audience doesn't know what peak pose is. And let me start by saying I'm all for the peak pose. Do not get me wrong. But it is a very limited sequencing modality. And the logic that actually produces peak pose sequencing can be applied to many other ways of creating an amazing class. So essentially in peak pose sequencing, and many people know this, but let's just be clear, articulates that in class, there's going to be a pose that is the peak, something that you're working on developing or you're working on learning. And so this becomes the focal point or the teaching message or the story of class. We're going to have a good all-around class, but we're going to work towards developing handstand, or we're going to work towards bakasana, or we're going to work towards a more comfortable back bend. It can really be anything. And one of the nice things about peak pose sequencing is it scales to every level. So if I'm teaching a beginner's level class, I can do a peak pose sequence that's focused on half moon pose or tree pose, right? We can break down and then develop all of the individual components that go into half moon pose or tree pose. We can work on those things, we can drill those things, and then we can reassemble them. If it were a really hard advanced class, maybe the peak pose is handstand, or it is a variation of handstand, or so on, right? So we can use the same logic and the same process and scale it to different levels. That's really nice and really great. And if we look at it, essentially what peak pose is, it's a process of deconstruction and reconstruction, or it's a process of reverse engineering, or it's a process of backwards design. Different educational structures have different language around what this essence is. But essentially, we're looking at something, in this case, bakasana, for example, and we're saying, what does it take to create this shape? And then let's break out and do all of those actions or all of those movements in a more simplified and easy way to build capacity and understanding to now execute this pose, right? So we've identified something, we've broken it down into its constituent parts, we've worked on those individual constituent parts, and then we're reassembling them to the best of our ability to understand the pose.
Yeah.
Perfect. I'm all for it.
Mm-hmm.
What I want to really articulate in this conversation is that process is not at all limited to teaching a pose. It can also be used to teach how to develop a region of the body. It can be focused and used to develop how to teach a philosophical theme. It can be used to articulate and describe how to teach a family of peak postures. Because again, when you're doing peak posture design, you're just identifying A, what am I trying to teach today? B, what is that composed of? C, let's do those individual elements and make our class.
Mm-hmm.
So let's look at the first beyond peak pose idea that we have, which is peak poses,
Mm-hmm.
right? If I'm going to teach, let's say I'm going to do a peak pose of bakasana, crow pose or crane pose. Well, I might as well throw in other poses that are really similar, like one-legged crow pose, like twisted crow pose, like ekapada kundanyasana. Instead of just thinking about it as a single pose, I can say, well, this single peak pose that I'm working towards is almost identical to these 5, 6, or 7 other poses. So maybe I'm not going to incorporate all of those, but if I'm spending all of this time in class to prepare you for bakasana, good grief. Let me also help you see and connect the dots that there are 6 other poses that are pretty much the exact same. So as we're learning Bakasana, we're also learning these 5 or 6 other poses that are almost identical.
Mm-hmm.
One more layer to this. Then what that does is that starts to open up the door. This is our next point, and we're not there. This starts to open up the door to saying, I'm not going to teach a peak pose today or this week. I'm going to teach a whole family of peak poses for the next month and a half.
Hmm.
It makes so much more sense. It's so much more time efficient,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then we can communicate to our students, hey, what we're really doing when we're learning Bakasana is we're also learning all the underlying fundamental actions of list the poses. So over the next month or so, we're going to do our balance practices, our balance sequences, but we're going to focus a little bit more on incorporating these, not just Bakasana, but all of the related poses to it.
Yeah.
Way more efficient.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
In this situation, we still have a peak pose, but we have multiple peak poses that are related over time. Way more efficient educational modality. But let me give you one more example of using the same process, but not actually doing a peak pose. Okay. So let's say that our focus is going to be hamstring and glute strength or strengthening the hip extensors. We'll layer it on. Let's say we're going to focus on strengthening the hip extensors and stretching the hip flexors. And this is going to be our focus for a period of time. What peak pose goes with that?
Urdhva Dhanurasana.
Yeah, Urdhva Dhanurasana.
I'm like, I'm being quizzed.
Yes, Urdhva Dhanurasana does, but so do many others. But here's the point on this. Is Urdhva Dhanurasana really the focus of those classes? It's not.
Doesn't have to be, no.
It's strengthening the glutes, strengthening the hamstrings, lengthening the hip flexors, lengthening the quads. So the thing that we're really trying to learn is not Urdhva Dhanurasana. What we're trying to learn is how to have a healthier, more functional body. So I might actually in that class, maybe I don't even do Urdhva Dhanurasana. There might not be any peak pose because what is going to be the thing on a yoga mat that best strengthens your hamstrings and glutes? Probably locust pose variations,
yeah.
which is not very peaky,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So, right. So again, this is where we can. It's not about the pose. It's never been about the pose.
That's true.
It's about the quality of embodiment,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I have to think to myself, I'm focused on like my focal point or my set of focal points is functional, a hip that actually works, not whether I can do a shape with my body.
Yeah.
And the pose in this situation that's going to best give that quality, it's really not a peak, right? It's as basic can be.
Right.
And then in that same scenario, if I also want to be emphasizing lengthening hip flexors and lengthening quads, then probably my peak on that is going to be like Anjaneyasana or crescent or like some basic low lunge quad stretch. The thing that's going to best get that length, which is, my focus in the front of the hip, is probably not going to be a hard pose.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So I might not even have in this class a quote unquote peak.
Right.
Because the focal point that we're reverse engineering from isn't a posture, it's a quality.
Yeah. And just as a reminder to kind of reinforce what you've been saying this whole time, we get so worried about people achieving something or feeling like they worked hard enough, but working on opening the hip flexors and strengthening the extensors and like the sensory experience of that and the interoceptive experience of that and the attention and the repetition, the soothing repetition of feeling your body is it will be incredibly beneficial and will feel great to most people. I mean, I don't want
Totally.
to say all people because maybe some people don't want to work that way.
Sure.
But but we forget that simplicity just is what it's all about.
100%. And
Yeah.
also, for the record, being good at the simple things makes you then be able to do the difficult thing when it's time to do the difficult thing.
Hmm.
And the example, I've used this in plenty of contexts, is, I know we've talked about this, but when I first started teaching yoga, I was working for a catering company, and we would stock the VIP room at the San Francisco Symphony. And it was in the exact same location that all of the musicians in the symphony would prepare for going on stage. And guess what they
That's so
did
neat.
not do? Complicated things. They
Right.
just played scales.
Yep.
Just listen to musicians play scales and like these really small components. And when you watch, right, you've been on the floor watching the Clippers
Hmm.
like warm up. What are they doing? They're doing the simplest things. They're drilling the simplest things.
Yep.
Because
Over
when
and
you're
over and
over and
over.
over, because when you are exceptionally good at simple things, then when you want to do the hard thing, you can actually do it.
Hmm.
But if you spend all your time clawing away, trying to do the hard thing because it's the novel thing, it's rare that you're going to actually be good at the thing.
Yeah.
Very rare.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Last one. Your classes should always be different.
Oh God, Lord have mercy. There's only so okay. I'm gonna start this, and it's gonna sound a little jaded, but I want everyone to take this in. Yoga teachers of the world, there are only so many things you can teach.
Right.
Your students only have so much capacity. They are only so strong. They are only so flexible. They are only so dexterous. They are only so technically proficient and knowledgeable. So it's not like, as yoga teachers, and also same thing with us, right? I'm not saying we're limited because our students like don't have full capacity with everything. We also don't either. But what we can do in our bodies and in yoga class is only so much. And if we think to ourselves, everything always has to be different, then we're actually kidding ourselves on some level. We're being very random, but by making every class different, we're going to end up repeating a lot of the same content randomly anyways, because
Yeah.
there's only so many things you can teach, right? And it's almost like almost like we have a deck of cards that only contain how many cards? 52 cards. How many cards
I
am I
think it's 52,
states?
52 pickup. Yeah, it's
Okay.
52.
Okay. It's like we have a deck of cards and people are just like, we're like, I'm just going to reshuffle it I'm just going to put it in a different order every class. It's still only 52 things.
Yeah.
Like it's not that many things. And so why are we putting this in such random order instead of having it in a progressive order, a consistent order, a non-randomized order? People are going to figure out, that there's only so much they can do. And the more you have consistency over time, the better.
Yeah.
And
It's better for the nervous system.
oh my God, yeah.
It's what the nervous system seeks, right? When we're seeking safety, like it's we're all looking to slow down and not be like as distracted. It's like the one place where most of us hopefully are not checking our phones. So it's a beautiful opportunity to create a ritual, to do the same things, to yeah, to not be afraid to repeat ourselves
Yeah.
and to let that be like a grounding experience.
Yeah. And when I bring this topic up, people ask me a lot of questions.
Mm,
So the first thing that I want to say is that I don't want to bore students either.
yeah.
I don't. And I'm afraid of boring people. However, we said this on the last podcast, I say this in trainings all the time. Your students aren't getting bored because you are consistent. They're getting bored because they're not growing. And the best way to help them grow is to be consistent and not be random.
Right.
So the only way that people can make progress in any subject matter is a combination of consistency and variety. So when I bring up classes don't always need to be the same, right? Classes don't always need to be different.
Right.
I'm not saying every class in perpetuity should also be the same. In our last conversation, I talked about what I perceive as the problems of fixed set sequences. There's not enough variety. There's not enough novelty. So they're very good at the consistency parts, but they're very bad at the variety part and the connecting the dots part.
Mm-hmm.
But on the other side of the equation, always being different, always being random, not having consistency and continuity means we don't have the consistency part. And I genuinely think that all of these things that we're talking about right now, everything on this list, comes down to essentially the same fundamental challenge that teachers often have. And it's going to sound crazy, and I actually don't fault anyone for it. But the bottom line is, I think a lot of times we're just not sure what we're trying to teach today.
Yes.
And that doesn't mean that we're not giving a good class. It doesn't mean that we're wasting our time. It doesn't mean that that we're doing things wrong. But when we're in the mode of everything is always a one-off, I'm just going to put stuff together that feels good, that's 50% of an amazing experience, right? That's like, oh, it's so good that we just moved and we breathed and we choreographed and we were creative and all those things. Like, those are all so good. But when they aren't anchored in consistency, structure, focal points, and growth over time, they become very random and very forgettable.
Mm-hmm.
And when they feel good for a while, but they don't really produce an education where people are building capacity and skills on the mat that transfer into life, then the yoga practice is like anything else that feels good, you know? And people are going to be more transient with it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
They're going to be way more transient with it. But when there is consistency over time, there is skill building, there is creativity and novelty and complexity in the context of an actually structured, consistent, coherent learning environment, then there's growth over time and people stick.
Right. And that's why you hammer the creating a curriculum and a foundational path to follow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, I mean, if I'll say it like this, when you go to teach a yoga class, it's live, right? It's live. Even when I go to teach a glow class and I'm recording it, it's still live. I'm still doing the thing live.
Mm-hmm.
And when we're teaching class live, absolutely we should be open to pivoting, to making changes, to having fun, to reading the room, to being responsive, all of those things. But all of those things are still coming into the context of when I first walk into that class, I have clarity as to why I'm there and what I'm trying to communicate.
Mm-hmm.
And that I want people to feel good, and I want people to learn a thing or two that builds capacity.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't have that clarity on a thing or two to build capacity, that's where I think there's so much wheel spinning and there's so much of us just kind of getting lost.
Mm-hmm.
And for yoga teachers, and it's one of the reasons, I'm going to plug my 300-hour training really quick. It's one of the reasons that it's so important to have consistency. It's so important. It's one of the reasons it's so important to have community and a teacher that's been there. Because as a yoga teacher, it's just so common that we feel adrift.
Mm.
that we just feel a little bit out to sea and that we don't really feel connected. We just feel like, oh my God, we're just always having to pull things together for this 60 minutes. Always having to pull things together for this 60 minutes. Always having to pull things together for this 60 minutes. Instead of feeling like, oh, I'm part of something. I have guidance. I have a feedback loop. I'm doing things to get clarity on why I'm really showing up for this class today. And yeah, maybe I pivot, maybe I change my plans, but I know when I step in this room that I'm genuinely grounded to a focus and to a community and to intention, instead of feeling like I'm going to do my best while I'm wandering out to sea for 60 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or at least that's how I felt for a lot of my career. So maybe I'm wrong and it's all projection, but I just feel like there's a lot of people that have heard that and they're like, yep.
Yeah.
It's weird as a yoga teacher.
Yeah.
It's really weird how just adrift and just sometimes alone you feel.
I think most people feel that way about life all the time. No, I mean, and I'm not saying that to be negative. I think we are I think COVID really, really shined a light on the need for community and connection. And, as like technology gets more and more entrenched in our lives, we know that we feel better when we are in community in various ways in our life.
Yeah, we get so scattered otherwise.
Yeah, like, I mean, I'm like so intentional now about the different types of community that I need.
Yeah.
So,
you think it's COVID or age?
no, I think a lot of it is COVID and technology.
Okay. Yeah.
I think it's people realize that social media just kind of like amps up our division.
Yeah.
So people realize our daughter knows too. I was going to say, maybe you have to be our age and a non-native digital user, but I think she's native digital and she's like, this world is crazy.
It's like empty calories, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
You're like, I can't stop. I don't know why I started. I can't stop. And so one of the reasons we can't stop with something is because it's not fulfilling.
Yeah. And I still think there are some really beautiful aspects of social media when people are genuine and creating community. But yeah, it's really, really easy to just get polarized. Yeah. We all know this anyway. Yeah. So yes, connection is important. It's a part of what you do in your trainings. And speaking of connection, I'm going to go to my dance class.
You are going to go to your dance class. Yeah. If this is like, no, we're right on target.
We're right on time.
We have to wrap. Andrea's going to dance class.
Where I am really starting to feel a sense of community.
And
it's
you know
awesome.
what? I'm not going to that class with you.
Love you too.
Let me put it this way. I would do anything for you. I wouldn't necessarily do anything with you.
I don't want you there.
Oh my God, no, you don't. All right.
Okay. Well, that was really helpful. You can go to our website to learn about all the things we've got to offer. Join our newsletter at jasonyoga.com/newsletter. And we appreciate you. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being part of our community. And until next week, enjoy your practice.